Hi guys, I'm Heather. I'm the marketing director at Create and Cultivate. And Create and Cultivate is a women's creative and entrepreneurial community. We have a digital presence where we provide resources for women who are looking to take the leap, and when they're there, how do they hire, how do they fire, all of those things, everything in between. We also do a traveling conference series for women, so you guys should check us out. But I'm so happy to be here with Weebly. We love Weebly and Square. They've been so supportive of us. And I'm excited to be talking with Portland's community because, as she mentioned, we were here last month, and every time we come to Portland, it's always so amazing, and everyone always turns out, and you guys have just like such a passionate, amazing entrepreneurial community, and that's definitely very rare. So without further ado, let's welcome our panelists to the stage. Yeah, give them a round of applause. It's scary. Hi, guys.
Hello, hello.
Whoa, a little sugar. His dad's up here. Or her dad. Oh, should she just come? Amazing, so cute. Okay, thank you for being here with us. Do you want to all go around and tell everyone who you are and tell us a little bit about what you do? Do you want to start?
Sure. I'm Ben, founder of Jacobsen Salt Company in Portland. We started 7 years ago, and we're the first to harvest salt in Oregon since Lewis and Clark.
Hi, I'm Amy Abrams, and I'm one of the founders of Fleas, and we have 3 locations in New York, 1 in Brooklyn, 2 in Manhattan, and 1 in LA, and we are a marketplace of makers where we host thousands of creative people to come and showcase and sell their creations or their curations.
Cool. Hi, my name is Amento Abioto, and I am a musician, performing artist locally. Also make food, and I'm here.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm performing later tonight, so yeah. Oh, you do? There you go.
Hi, I'm Kate Towers. I'm a clothing designer, pretty much a one-woman show. And I started about 20 years ago. I had a clothing store in Portland called Seaplane. That was, we carried many local designers, and depending on how old or young you are, you may or may not have remembered it or been here when it was happening. And sort of ever since then, I've just been designing.
My name is John Feldman. I'm the Vice President of Sales at Stumptown Coffee Roasters. Just recently moved here from the East Coast from New York to take a different role at Stumptown, but I've been with the company for almost 8 years, based in New York. I'm about 20 years in the food and beverage industry, and stoked to be here.
Amazing. So today we're talking about taking the leap when you're scared shitless. And even though entrepreneurs are fearless, and everyone here is fearless, let's give them a round of applause because this is actually very scary to be speaking in front of everyone. Amazing. So it's 2018. Entrepreneurship is actually on the rise. 60% of our community, over 60% has a side hustle, and they are looking to turn it into their full-time gig, which I know a lot of you here are as well. So let's start from the beginning. I would love for everyone to tell us a little bit about the leap that you took and how you knew, oh, this is going to be what I do for a living. Do you want to start?
Sure, I'll start.
Oh, that was me.
I think for me, I started in the food and beverage industry, just kind of picking up odd jobs in restaurants to just make ends meet while I was going to school. And for me, I just had both my grandfather and my father always told me, whatever you want to do, just always surround yourself with the best in that business. And no matter what it is, whether it's sweeping a floor or washing dishes or just get your foot in the door. So I kind of always, that was my blueprint as it related to jobs. And so I was started as a server at places like TGI Fridays or mom and pop, kind of greasy spoon restaurants, and started to just see how I could learn something and then parlay that into the next best thing. And I always really tried to push myself to whatever the next thing was, always had to be a bit of a stretch. And so for me, I kind of made my way up the ranks through restaurants and culinary school and all sorts of things, and it got to the point where I didn't really want to be married to a restaurant anymore. Just really tough. And for me, it was also my safety, it was kind of my comfort zone being in restaurants. I knew it very well. But the big fear was, how do I parlay this into something different that's not in the industry? And then how do I do that without abandoning everything that I've learned? And so for me, it was about putting myself out there and, kind of putting the stretch out there and putting myself out in different conversations and having informational interviews and trying to find where I could intersect another world. And for me, coffee was that world, because at the time, it was just such a new kind of frontier that also a lot of people had a lot of interest in. I just saw there was just something to it. There was a lot of depth to it. So I just kind of walked through my fear, and I had some really good friends at the time in the industry, and it ended up working out. But that was it for me.
Super passionate crowd.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. So.
How about you?
I don't really feel like I ever took a leap. I feel like it's kind of been a slow roll. I mean, I did jump into a moving van from the East Coast and moved out here, so I feel like in a weird way, I mean, I was a lot younger, but that was kind of a leap because it was sort of a blind move and just sort of like,
Definitely.
who cares? I'm going. And I did start a clothing store with a friend, and we had no idea what we were doing, so that was also kind of a leap, but maybe just a very naive leap. But it essentially kind of moved me into what I'm doing now. So yeah, I've always done art and creative things, so it felt natural, and yeah, just kind of continued.
Yeah,
So.
you did it.
Yeah.
You leaped.
Sure.
Yes. We all wanted it. Amazing.
Wow. That was
So you're the
beautiful.
ultimate creative. You are a triple threat, if not more. So how did you, what made you say, I'm not doing this 9 to 5, I'm not sitting at a desk job?
Well, I still have a little side, a little thing that I do for money. I'm
Most
not
people do.
thriving, I still have to,
Pay the bills.
pay the bills. Though I do get paid for this. And that helps definitely. But I feel like being stable for me, financially, where I can fund my dreams, and having
Exactly.
enough funds is important. So I have to have enough funds to
Yeah.
do certain stuff, because I manage myself, I do all the stuff. So it's I want to be able to do that. I
Yeah.
like independence, So yeah. So I
You're
try to
figuring it out.
figuring it out.
I mean, I would say most people, when they're starting a business, still have a full-time job. Mm-hmm. It's totally normal.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Well, yeah. My leap. I started.
You're mid-leap.
My creative music leap. Music. I've always enjoyed performing. I think as a young girl, I think that's when I knew to take the leap and believe in my gifts and know that I could create something here, and maybe not, I didn't there wasn't a lot of, I just had to do things myself,
Yeah. We always say take your creativity seriously. And
exactly.
That's something that that's one of our core brand values. And I think a lot of what holds people back is that they think, oh, I'm good at this, I'm talented, but this isn't.
How's it going to work?
Right,
Exactly.
So you have to take your creativity seriously.
Exactly. And going there, taking that leap and taking the risk, like you were saying, both you always saying, putting yourself out there and like sending those emails and like saying, yeah, can I play here? You know, and that was like the leap that I took. And since then, it's been steady, you know, because I believed in it, and also other people believed in it too. But yeah, I'm going on a roll here, but
No, that's good.
oh, thank you. I love you, whoever you are. Hey.
Amy?
Well, maybe some of you can relate to this. I mean, I've never been one who's liked to be told what to do. So, and I think that at a younger age, I was, maybe some people would have called it bossy, but I think it was leadership skills. And yes, I always encourage that. But I think that, and I think actually I might, at this point, because I've been an entrepreneur most of my career, I think I'm pretty much unemployable. But it's okay, because I employ myself. But I think that for Artists and Fleas, when we started Artists and Fleas, we started it when we were doing other things. I was actually in graduate school at the time, and my husband, who's my partner, he had a full-time job. So I really can relate to kind of starting something on the side and really experimenting with it until it had some momentum, which I think is a really important avenue for some people to start something, because it does give you some proof of concept and a little bit of momentum and, you know, like your own confidence to do it, and that the market wants this. So that was something that we had the opportunity to do until we realized it was something that really had legs.
And you started in Brooklyn.
We started in Brooklyn 15 years ago.
So how did you take the leap from Brooklyn to...
The next place?
Yeah.
It's a great question. So we were running the business for about 6 or 7 years, or maybe it was in our 7th year. And a lot of people at that point, the maker community had really like swelled, and people being in business for themselves, that whole landscape had changed to me for the better, for sure, because there's so many creative people out there. And we started to see that some people, we were just open on weekends, and we started to see some people who wanted more opportunities. So we kind of, you know, we have 2 customers. We have the people who come and visit us and shop, but our other customers are all the merchants who sell with us. And so we sort of followed the lead and grew with our merchants who were looking for more. But I will say this. I remember when we went to Chelsea Market next, which is like a pretty big institution in New York City. And I remember when we did a series of pop-ups there, and then we signed a lease. And I remember that the lease for 1 month was what we paid for the entire year in Williamsburg. And I remember saying to myself, well, this is either gonna like sink or swim, but we just decided to go for it. But I remember like my hand shaking as I signed that check and thought maybe my kids won't go to college, but hopefully they will.
I started, this is my dog Luca, and she's probably more interested in the food that you all are holding than she is with me, being here with me. But I started Jacobsen Salt 7 years ago, and I discovered good salt when I was living in Scandinavia, and I was living in Denmark and then in Norway. And my girlfriend at the time brought home a package of good salt, and it was 35 kroner or so, about $10. And I was a student at the time, and I couldn't believe that she had spent $10, 35 kroner on salt, and because I was very clearly on a budget. And anyway, so tried the salt and became amazed by how much better good salt was than anything else I had ever tried before in my life. And moved back here to Oregon, where my folks live, and kind of scratched my head and realized that nobody in America made great salt. And so it started over the next 2.5 years with a very slowly, painfully failing other company that I'd started previously. As that company was failing, I started to try and make salt and figure out how, if it was possible. Over the course of 2.5 years of that slow, painful failure, I finally did, and brought my salt the salt that I had made to New Seasons, which is like our local Whole Foods, and to a vendor fair there, and they said, "I love it. I want a case for each store. How soon can you get it to me?" And I said, "Oh shit, I better start a business." So, at that point, I literally had a single bag of salt and a brand that I developed 24 hours prior to that, and began taking renting U-Haul trucks. I became like if they had a loyalty club, I would definitely be at the top because I'd spent 2.5 years driving rented U-Haul trucks over the pass, over 26 and 6 to Necharts Bay, Oregon, and hauled as much as 1,000 gallons of water at a time, and came back here to Kitchen Crew in Northwest Portland to start making salt. Now we make our salt in a production facility that's an old oyster farm on Necharts Bay, and we have a lot of fun doing it, and we have really, really great people on our team that make it all possible, and hopefully people that enjoy our salt that make it possible too.
Amazing.
I love your salt.
Thank you.
I love your space. I haven't had the salt yet, but I'm ready.
We'll change that.
So you had kind of like the dream entrepreneur start where someone asked you to start your business. That's what forced your hand. And I feel like I know our number one question from our community is like, how do you know when it's the right time to start your business? I think when people tell you to send product is definitely a good example. But otherwise, it's like a really difficult thing to try to tell people because I don't think there ever is like the perfect time. It's kind of like there's never a perfect time to have a baby, and it will be like your baby. So it's really hard to answer that question, but you guys did it, and you guys are founders, and you are solopreneurs, and you run an entire company. What is that first step? When you took the leap, what did you do? Did you make a business plan? You got U-Haul trucks, but what was like the first thing that you would recommend people do when they start the business?
I sure didn't make a business plan. And I still haven't. It's very much, day to day, week to week, that kind of a thing. So.
Yeah, and I think that's normal when you're doing riding solo. Yeah. What about you?
I made a semblance of a business plan, but it was like probably one sheet long in total, and there goes Luca. And my brother, who's way better at Excel, helped me create the business model, because for me that was the challenging thing. There was no precedent set, and I couldn't kind of turn to an industry that had been done before, and so kind of trying to figure out the cost of evaporation and fuel, and moving seawater, how much does that cost versus trying to finance a plant at the coast. So.
Amazing. Amy, did you have a business plan? Growth plan?
No, not at all. I think we wrote some ideas on the back of a napkin. But I think that, I definitely think that being realistic about actually financially what it takes to get something started is pretty important.
Yeah.
So the numbers need to make sense. And I've heard a lot of entrepreneurs sort of say, well, I'm not a numbers person. So if you're not, you need to find someone who is.
Definitely.
And that doesn't need to be a fancy business plan, but I think you have to sort of, if you make something, I think you have to consider not just the materials, but like your labor and your time, and sort of really having an understanding of what that takes.
Yeah.
But what I would say more than anything is the very first weekend we were supposed to be open, there was a huge snowstorm in New York, and so we were closed. And we had to call people because that's what you did back 15 years ago. And I think that we had a really good sense of humor because we were like, well, I guess. Things don't always go as planned, so you have to have a little bit of flexibility and be able to roll with the punches.
Yeah. And I know we talked about this a little bit, but something that comes up a lot is with entrepreneurs, like you have this passion project, you want to keep working on it, but there is definitely this idea that if you're an entrepreneur, you have to kill yourself over it. You have to raise money and grow fast and be an overnight success, which is obviously not true, and that's not the case for 99.9% of entrepreneurs. And you talk a little bit about this, that there's like this pressure and that people should really kind of take it on their own pace. Do you want to tell us a little bit about your thoughts there?
Sure. I have a lot of thoughts on this, but I'll make them very brief. I think that becoming an entrepreneur is the ultimate opportunity for autonomy, and I think that means very different things to different people. And I would encourage anyone who thinks that they want to start their own thing to be really clear about what they want. And that definitely changes over time, but I think that some people want a business that they grow quickly and they sell. Other people want a business that they're going to have for a long time. Other people want a business that's seasonal so that they can do other interests. And I think that really listening to yourself is really important, because everybody has advice on what you should do. But I think ultimately it is your baby, and you're going to be the best parent to that business. And I think that there's so many different ways to be successful, right? So I think it's important to kind of like filter out a lot of that noise and just know really what you want. And then I think it makes it all really worth it, and it makes it really fun, and it makes you really feel very satisfied. Mm-hmm. So that has been my experience, and we've thought a lot about growth, and lots of people have had a lot of ideas, and ultimately we've grown kind of slow and steady, and that's what's made sense for us, and that's what's given us a lot of satisfaction. There's obviously stress involved as well, but it's allowed us to have a life that has it's multifaceted. So that was really listening to our own instinct.
Yeah, and I think that's so smart. Like, do you want this so that you can work from home, or so you can travel? It doesn't have to be so you can be a millionaire and have 1 million Instagram followers or whatever you want. Or if that is your goal, good for you. So, John, the food and bev industry, it's pretty tough. I think I learned on a panel that 90% of restaurant and like food businesses fail within the first year. Is that terrifying?
I don't know that statistic specifically, but it's a tough business.
Yeah, but you've been on the forefront for so long, and Stumptown's so well known. I mean, I drink it every day. I spend.
Thank you.
The most expensive thing that I buy is probably the cartons.
Yeah.
I just get them. I'm like, I need like 6 of these for the week. I love them. They're the best. I'm addicted.
Yeah.
How do you stay relevant and competitive in the space?
That's a great question. I think for us, first I'll address the first thing you said, is that we're really a coffee roasting company, first and foremost. And we were founded 19 years ago, and it was a small shop on Division in Southeast Portland, and it was the owner roasting during the day, Dwayne Sorensen, or during the evening, and then had a shop during the day, and it was very mom and pop. But the real core of the business is wholesale, and it's very B2B. Mm-hmm. And so one of the things that's been challenging from the beginning, from all that I know, and I've been with the company 8 years since I started, is we're really tethered to the food and beverage industry. So we're downstream from all the challenges. If someone opens a restaurant, it's really successful in the first years, and we have a business with that restaurant, and they close 5 years later, that affects our business. So we are very much in the middle of all of that. Mm-hmm. For us, it's a really complex world that we live in, and that we're servicing different customers, whether it's a restaurant or a cafe or corporate dining, or a university, or a grocery store. And it's also, over the years, it's become incrementally more competitive. And so it's a very crowded space. And so for us, instead of reacting to kind of the tsunami of challenges coming our way, whether it's logistical, whether it's competitors embarking on your territory, whether it's negative narratives around your size or how you've grown, it's really, in the end, it's kind of that saying where it's lonely out in front or it's lonely at the top. We kind of had to start to look inside for the answer and stop looking outside and paying attention to all the noise. So for us, which I think is really what's really gotten us through, and where we feel like we've been able to keep our identity is just staying true to ourselves. We're a coffee roasting company. We're passionate about coffee. We want to share that with as many people as possible. We want to celebrate what we do. We want to help others to be successful. I think that's another part that I find really rewarding about what we do, is that we help other small businesses and other folks who have been in medicine or have been in finance, and they've decided, hey, this is not for me anymore. I want to start a restaurant, or I want to start an espresso bar. I live in Chicago. I live in DC. I want to do something for my community. We get to work with those people and really cross-pollinate ideas and be part of something. So
Yeah.
for us, I think it's really about staying true to who we are, knowing who we are, being the experts of our own subject matter, and sharing that with as many people as possible and enjoying it along the way, and not listening to the noise and trying to react to the external factors, but really, again, what's at our core, and not chasing cool, but being cool.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, that's a great ending point, because I was going to say, I feel like I see you in all the cool places, but then I'm also so happy that I can conveniently get you. So like the B2B has really, you guys nailed it.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks.
Amento, you're doing everything by yourself. With creativity, like when you're selling your performance or your art or those types of things, there is definitely an economy where you sometimes work for free, but you try not to. What conversation do you have with yourself when there is an opportunity that could potentially raise you up, but maybe doesn't have the budget that you're asking for or looking for, or no budget at all? What are those things that you say, this is not going to happen, or okay, I could consider this, and like, what's that conversation that you have with yourself?
Yeah, well, I really try to listen to my intuition.
Yeah.
Because, I think that goes deeper than just trying to figure out like all the facts and like, oh yeah, they're paying me this much and all of these details. Sometimes all the details are good to look at, and of course you always have to look at like, make sure you're getting paid enough, how much it's going to cost to get there, just all the specifics of doing a performance, doing anything. And yes, but I try to say yes to most things. It can kind of get me a little frazzled at times. But if I'm not getting paid, that definitely does put it on the bottom of the list.
Yeah.
But if it's like a fundraiser,
right.
and they don't have them like, I will. And I love it when they do give, it's like, yeah, I'm going to give you $100, that's great.
Totally.
But if they don't offer it, I just have to feel it out, honestly, because I want to give. I want to give back to my community, too. Like, I have a certain, code of, going about living in the world and, my own, manifest destiny or, purpose and business idea, and that's a part of it, contributing what I can, but also understanding that I need certain things and just kind of weighing the things, the facts, the details, and also intuition and just being a good person, working with people, which I like to do because I want people to work with me.
And I think
that's not the, of course,
Yeah, you want it to be a pleasant experience.
Yes, of course.
But I think that's also something important that expands outside of you for entrepreneurs. It was like, okay, this would be really great space to get my name out there, or I'm going to connect with all these other people. Totally. Or there's going to be this entire consumer base for me.
And that's also something that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think it's also good to set up guidelines. What are you getting out of this?
Exactly.
Can you exchange marketing, or can you exchange certain things? And
exactly,
sure...
other things, totally. Am I getting free drinks,
Definitely free drinks.
Got some food.
Free food is also,
exactly.
There is a such thing as a free lunch.
Exactly.
Amazing.
Yeah.
John, you really, the inspiration was,
Ben.
I'm sorry. Yeah, Ben. Sorry, I'm not used to interviewing men. No, but your inspiration really came from your international travels. So what hurdles did you, because there was no one really here doing this, and definitely not doing it well. So what hurdles did you face bringing this to an American market who maybe doesn't see salt as, they just see the girl with the dog biting her underwear. What hurdles did you face making it a luxury, sexy brand?
Wow, thank you. I think
Yeah.
a luxury, sexy brand is really cool. I do think that we make the best salt on the planet.
Yeah.
And I spent 2.5 years trying to figure out how to do that. And if you haven't tried our salt, I encourage you all to try it tonight and try it next to Diamond Crystal Kosher or Morton salt, and you will absolutely tell the difference. And so for me, it was two-pronged. Number one, I'd worked with Oregon Department of Agriculture and Department of Fish and Wildlife to get them to agree that this was an okay thing to do. When I first came to them with the idea, they said, "You want to do what?" And then so I gave them examples of how salt was being made in all different parts of the world, but wasn't being made here in the U.S. On coastlines, and so that was a challenge in and of itself. But then the second part of that was just like honestly hustling as every chance I could get to allow people to taste our salt and try it against what they were used to eating growing up, just like I did, and hopefully have encourage them to kind of have that moment with something that's so much better that you fundamentally have to survive. And so why not eat really delicious stuff as well?
Amazing. So what were some of the resources you tapped in Portland to get your name out there?
Let's see here. Initially, it was working out of Kitchen Crew, a commissary kitchen in Northwest, and I remember walking in flip-flops, which are not allowed in a commercial kitchen, and one of the guys telling me, who's now a really good friend of mine, "Get out of here because you can't be in here with those shoes on," and so that was just kind of starting at ground zero, learning from people that I work with. But then, really just leveraging our customers, frankly. We'd be lucky sometimes to go into a New Seasons, which was our first ever customer, or Pasta Works, or a Salt and Straw, or even a Stumptown coffee to go in and sample our salt. So just kind of trying to get as many people to try it as possible, and then just hustling every single minute of the day, and waking up first thing in the morning kind of in cold sweats of what you need to do that day.
Yeah, I know that life. The cold sweats are real. So what about you guys? What are some resources that people might not think about that you can tap into to really help get your business off the ground? Community resources, specifically Portland, if you have any for them.
I think the most important thing when you're starting a business is to find other people who are starting businesses. I think that you want to have kind of people around you that you can bounce ideas off of, that you can kind of rally and give you support in those moments that they know that you're going through. A lot of times, like, you're really good at something that they're not, and vice versa, whether it's one person and you kind of have a weekly coffee, or if it's a group of people. I also think that it's incredibly energizing to help other people, and especially when it's really overwhelming when you're starting your own business and you can feel discouraged. That act of being able to offer someone else advice is just, it's a tremendous gift to yourself and to them. As well as, I really do think that things are so obvious to you that are not obvious to someone else, and vice versa. So if you can kind of find your group of people that you meet with regularly, or you do sort of a one-on-one, it's like, find your tribe, find your people, find the people that are living on the planet of starting a business, and I think it will be a wonderful resource, and you can kind of celebrate people's success over time, and help each other when people are going through hard times. It's a great club to create for yourself.
Yeah, the favor economy is one of the best things and most crucial things, I think, to entrepreneurs starting out.
I was just going to say, I agree. Just having a support system around you, maybe finding people that are doing the same thing that you're doing, or something different that you look up to. I've been fortunate enough to have just mostly women around me that are doing the same thing. We all have a lot of the same struggles, and we're always kind of reinventing the way we do things, so you might get ideas. And generally, I mean, in Portland especially, people are very supportive of each other and helpful, and a lot of us have kids, so we know what it's like to kind of go through that same thing.
What do you think some of the biggest struggles you guys face, you collectively face, that comes up?
I mean, I think there's always a lack of time. There's so many things that you want to get done in a day, and just that kind of thing, and motivating yourself if you are ultimately doing it all yourself.
Yeah. Getting out.
Yeah, I mean, keeping it fresh and exciting, and not just the monotonous day-to-day grind. Having money to move forward, that kind of a thing. So, yeah.
Okay, we're gonna do some sentence finishers, and we're gonna do QA. So get your questions ready. But before we get into the sentence finishers, what is your go-to piece of advice for people in here getting ready to launch their business?
We all want to say, "Don't do it." No. Actually, no, I don't think that at all. I think just be safe. Take a baby step and try something out first. And I wouldn't just like throw everything into one idea, but talk to people and get some thoughts on, like what you just said. Maybe talk to other people that are doing it.
Yeah. I would say hire an accountant.
That's true.
I think that like if you have something that you want to try and do, I think you should do it. I think time is everybody's most precious commodity, and it's pretty clear the worst case scenario is that you could fail. And then big deal, you'll pick yourself up and then you'll do something else, because if you're a creative person, you're going to have another creative idea. So I think that if you have always had a dream to do something, that try it, go for it. You only live once.
Definitely. I agree with everything I think that everyone's been speaking about. I think it really is about taking your passion and having a point of view and trying to have that materialize in one way or another. But really, I think it can't be said enough, challenge your own ideas by sharing them with others and be open to feedback. And there's so many people who, as mentioned, who are willing to help. And in this day and age versus even 10 years ago, the fact that you can reach anyone through social media and just ask a question or, really, again, cross-pollinate ideas with others, I think that's a really big deal when you're looking to walk through your fear, because you're going to learn something. And again, you can't be afraid of failure. I think that's a big one.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so we're going to do some sentence finishers. Are you ready? If you could tell your younger self anything, what would it be?
Save money.
What about you?
Read more books.
Oh, I love that.
I don't know. Just go be happy. Go be happy.
I think
Go
Go Be
forth
Happy is
and
amazing.
go create. Yeah,
Yeah.
do you, baby. Go.
Okay, sorry, I thought of two, so I'm going to say them quickly. One is have thicker skin. This is to myself. And then the other one is to be patient.
That's really good. I was going to say, don't sweat the small stuff. But I think being patient is, and not worrying, not trying to kind of let everything get you down when everything can be overwhelming is really important.
My hiring motto is
Find somebody way, way smarter than you.
best.
Hire slow and fire fast.
Yes.
The hiring motto?
Motto, yeah.
Motto. Exactly. I know what you mean. I would say, don't judge a book by its cover.
Yes.
Maybe something like that.
It really sounds cheesy, but I just want to work with good, genuine people, that are kind and fun to be with. Of course, I also want them to be skilled, especially if they can offer something that, maybe they're better at than I am, kind of a
Yeah.
thing. So,
I mean, the
put the pieces
majority of
together
our working lives, the majority of our adult lives are spent with the people that we work with, so
Right.
probably you shouldn't hate them.
Right.
My big thing is I always like to hire people who understand the human side of being in the workplace, and also I like to hire and build teams that are complementary and that are not built of the same. And so I like finding people who are very different than me that have a different skill set that's very complementary. And I think when you have that kind of variety in a group, only good things can come. So.
Yeah, I agree. The human side is important because at the end of the day, we're not, well, we might not be, other people are curing cancer, but it's definitely good to have a human side. If I could have a meeting with anyone in the world, it would be
Michelle Obama.
Amy Schumer.
Oh, nice.
She'd be fun to hang out with. So
Also,
why not
listen
have
to
a meeting with her?
Her audiobook
And
is
dinner.
amazing.
Yes.
You'll laugh, you'll cry, it'll be wonderful.
Maybe an angel, if there, because I feel there's an angel out there that I need to talk to. So, yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, thank you.
Lorne Michaels of Saturday Night Live, because I think he had a vision that was really clear and he stuck to it, I think 40 years later, and he's as engaged, I think, as he was. And I'd love to know, like, that's a pretty impressive track record.
Yeah, he's a genius.
And then maybe I could get tickets to see that show.
Cory Booker.
Ah, nice. Okay, questions?
So a bit of context, I only travel with Ben's pink Himalayan sea salt.
Oh, nice. So
it's-
you're
Yeah,
fan over here.
converted.
Yeah.
But this question originates with Ben, but could be extrapolated to the larger panel. And so when it comes to the evaluation of partnerships, how do you weigh the adherence to your own vision and what you're trying to accomplish with the collaborative benefits of those ad hoc opportunities that may present themselves?
I mean, I think first and foremost, we try and work with people that we want to work with. And usually that ends up being people that are in, a similar circle, as us, Stumptown Coffee. And I don't know if Matt is around here still, but Matt from Stumptown, but and John, of course, but Matt was my original entry point to Stumptown, and trying to wanting to work with people that you like and that you want to do business with, and you can kind of figure the rest out. For us, it's a little bit more straightforward because we make an ingredient that can go in lots of different things, which is great. But it's making sure that the brands fit. We would much rather work with Stumptown Coffee than we would rather work with like Seattle's Best Coffee, and making sure that there's a brand fit there, and that brand fit ties back to like who are the people that are running the company and who as a result, who are you kind of aligning yourselves with, and kind of as long as the kind of the brand and the people fit are there, then I think it's then the rest falls into place.
Hi guys, thanks for coming. I am wondering if there are any mistakes that you have made that you felt were particularly instructive in your journey that you might want to share with everybody.
Good question.
How long do you have? I'll share a mistake that happened in the past 6 months that was like really, was like a real turning point for me personally. It comes down to transparency. So we had someone working for us for several years, and I felt that this person wasn't doing a great job, and they kind of had hit where they could go. And there was another opportunity. I knew what they were interested in, and I did want to cultivate that area for this person. But it was like because of fear. I was afraid that they would leave, and I'd be in a kind of a lurch. And so instead of being kind of sitting down and having an open conversation about kind of this plan that I had, I kind of kept this person in this role and kind of found someone else, and then sort of structured it as like, I have this new role for you. Oh, and by the way, I found someone else. And it was a pretty big mistake on my part because I would have been able to do a much bigger search. I would have been able to enlist this person's help in that process. It worked out, but for me, I took the blame that I should have just been much more upfront, and I should have been more transparent about what I wanted, what I'd hoped that would happen, because when push came to shove, this person still could have said, "I'm out of here." So I thought I was kind of controlling something, and it wasn't my proudest moment, but I'm actually glad that I learned a lot from it, and I would just be a lot more upfront and clear in the future. Even if the person wasn't on board, I think it would have been much more above board and a more professional, and I would have felt much prouder as a leader. So, but we're all a work in progress, so.
That's the hardest part, maybe. The leading team, you're following this passion, and yeah, exactly. Everyone does. Do you have more questions? Good job.
Hi. I love that you said the word turning point. And I just thought it'd be awesome to hear from anyone else about a recent turning point or inflection point in your business. I know there's sort of this starting and kind of fumbling your way through, maybe, especially if you don't have new seasons asking you to start your business. But if you guys have just a moment in time that was kind of a big turning point for you, I'd love to hear from some other people about that.
Yeah, I mean, I'll take one this past year. After being at Stumptown for a really long time, you know, we're always trying to better ourselves. We're never trying to stay stagnant or rest on our laurels in any way. And I think, you know, part of our business this past year was really, wow, we're almost 19 years old. How do we take this special thing and continue to, you know, keep it special? And how do we share it with all these different people who have a different point of view of who we are and what we're about? And it was very apparent to us that in a very difficult competitive landscape, something needed to be done where we had to change a lot of our business model and while doing that, disproving the notion you can't grow with integrity, right, at a bigger size. And so for us, you know, I think this past year for me and our team was really recognizing that it's okay to shift around the model or to break something and put it back together, because kind of to my previous point, we're still being true to who we are. And so I think the lesson this past year for us in terms of remodeling certain aspects of our business was it's okay to change. It's okay to break away from something that's not working, and it's okay to listen to other people's ideas. And in doing so, we actually completely opened up a whole set of opportunities, and we've optimized aspects of the business that we were kind of lost with prior to. And so, yeah, that's how I'd answer that one.
Yeah, always be growing. Do we have more questions? Yay, here we go.
So I'm curious as to whether you think your concept is what makes you successful, your hard work is what makes you successful, your branding is what makes you successful. If you had to choose what's the most important component, or are they all equally important? How do you decide this is where I should put my time, focus, and energy?
I think all are equally important. I think the product and its quality is probably first and foremost, but then I think timing has a lot to do with it as well. And if you don't get the timing right, then it can be either, you know, much harder or much easier.
I mean, for me, just because I'm sort of my own thing, it's just kind of having a unique voice. I mean, I agree with you that all those things are important, and for sure the quality, but just having something different to say with my work.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I agree. Yeah, I agree with that. I think, yeah, branding and everything like plays a part, like making sure that, and then sometimes there might be an imbalance, you know, but just kind of feeling out where that might be, like, yeah. Because I feel like I have so much work to do in the recording realm. Like, I feel like I perform a lot, you know, like, but I have recordings and that I'm working on now that you know, it's just time to like rev up and like start pushing those out. And yeah, having the visuals to go along, just having it kind of be a multi-sensory experience for the people when they think of you or see your advertisement or something. It's just invoking a spirit of, and that involves just different layers, and yeah.
I mean, I think hard work goes without saying for anything. Like, you know, look at anybody who's successful in any field. So I think there's working smart, and kind of as a If you're the leader of the company, I think it's really important to know what you do best, and probably that's not everything, and being really honest about that, and then filling in with the absolute best people who can do all those other things better than you can. But I also think that, is it branding? I think it's about staying relevant and being honest and kind of looking at the landscape and knowing when you have to change. But I think without question, there's like an element to luck, timing, and that's that little pixie dust that just is there or not. And I think people don't always like to own up to that, but I think that that's just the reality of life. So
I think resiliency is key, because you're going to get your highest highs, your lowest lows in the same hour. You're going to get doors shut in your face, and you have to just be able to push through and bounce back and keep iterating and keep driving forward.
That's true, because not everybody's going to love what you do, and
Yeah,
I'm kind of like, oh, that's fine. It's not for everyone, so.
it's for you. Yeah. Oh, okay, amazing. Hi.
Hi, I'm also a maker turned entrepreneur, and I attribute a lot of my success to intuition. And I'm curious if you guys have any examples of how intuition, served you well in your businesses.
Are you from Schmitz? Hi. Congratulations. I use your deodorant all the time.
Me too.
I think intuition is.
So do I, actually.
I think intuition has a lot to do with it. I think I guess I don't know the difference as much between that and kind of following your gut, but I think your gut is the most powerful thing that we all walk around with every day, and trusting your gut and knowing when to trust it and probably when to sit on it a little bit more and not being in a hurry is probably, for me, very important.
Yeah, I agree with that totally. Like not feeling pressured, to make a certain decision, or having outside forces change who you are, and it could be hard. Just doing certain things, and just working for yourself, and just doing all these things, and sometimes you can get lost, but just always finding that center, because that's where it all came from. That's where this business came from. You gotta trust that beyond anything else. Yeah. Because it's a navigator, it's like, I see that, and I know that that's right, this right here, and also being around the right people too, environments, and intuition and within environments is key, and great question, I like that.
All right. Well, let's give everyone a round of applause. Thank you so much. I know it can be scary.